Good evening. So, have you ever thought about why some people actually keep going back to the same toxic partners that they had? And why we tend to be addicted to the toxic relationships? Because there's a pattern that keeps actually repeating. Because it was my question for a while, I couldn't understand it. Why does it happen? But I did a lot of research and I came to this conclusion that our brain doesn't do something that is good for us. For instance, how many times you have promised yourself that you would go to a gym or do something that is good for you, and you find yourself in the next morning not being able to wake up in the early morning. It's like the next morning you become completely someone new, and it's like a completely radical movement, but there is a psychological explanation behind it. So, have you guys ever wondered why some people, repeatedly enter the relationships that look unhealthy or toxic from the outside, whether it's like your friend or a family member, like a sibling? But why? Why is it like that? Why do we stay even when we know that the other person doesn't actually give enough of love, enough of care, enough of everything? And by the way, I feel like I look much cooler wearing the sunglasses and the cap on. And let me know what you guys think. And feel free to comment down below and subscribe to the channel. So, yeah, there's a cycle called addiction to toxic relationship because those toxic relationship kind of are a roller coaster of emotion. You feel anxious, you feel happy, you feel like you're doing something, you're working towards a goal, and this kind of chase is important because let's be honest. Christopher Columbus, the guy who actually discovered the U.S. United States of America, after he discovered that, he was outside chasing another place because the pleasure is in the pursuit of this thing. It's not like when you get something it matters. It's like I want to, for example, get to have this. This is just as an example. The pursuit, what would take to get there is important. After I get this, say, okay, I got this. I want something else. That's like the cycle of ever like growing kind of onward march to newer kind of things. You have something, you want something else. Life goes on, and you want something that is like greener, and the grass always looks greener on the other side of the pasture. So, in this video, we break down the psychology behind this phenomenon step by step and explain how childhood attachment can actually silently shape our choices in the adulthood because we have some kind of attachment style. Like honestly speaking, our parents, mom and dad, have a very important impact on our psychological cognition and behavior because when we are young children and we look at them, the way they treat us, we would be completely different. And a lot of people in their early life, they have not been nurtured the proper way because let's be honest, our parents did not really read a book on how to be parents, and that's a problem when they don't know how to actually properly teach the kids. There will be some sort of differences in the way that they think in this kind of world, and that's the thing we're going to talk about. For instance, some parents take care of the children too much and the child leads to be spoiled. And if a child will experience inconsistent affection, cold or unpredictable parents, or emotional neglect, the brain actually learns a harmful definition of love. So love is lack and waiting for that child is like painful. So this deep kind of belief pulls that kind of child toward toxic relationship later in life because that's the definition they have in their mind of love. Because we are looking for someone who completes us based on our conception, and sometimes for us, the parents that we have, the love that they shared with us is not exactly being replicated, but we have something deep in our perception that sometimes it lacks. We want something new that would make up to that. Sometimes it is similar. but it needs to be analyzed case by case basis, because some people would refrain from actually finding the same person similar to their parents because they have been messed up. But we need to accept that our parents did their best for us to actually, be a better version of them. But sometimes they were like not sufficient. So why do healthy people scare us? One of the strongest phenomena is that when someone with a secure, stable, and kind personality appears, we may feel bored or suspicious or emotionally disconnected, but we might be wondering like why? Because the brain is used to the chaos. It associates love with emotional intensity and pain, not calmness. It actually, you know, has this kind of bond. So the quietness of a healthy relationship feels unfair, even unsafe, and it'd be like bored. And the role of the family and early life, you might be wondering what that is. So parents aren't not, always the only cause, but there are other factors also involved. For example, they can also be influenced by early romantic heartbreaks or bullying or rejection in the school, in teams, or cultural messages that glorify suffering in love or low self-esteem. These are like really like some kind of people being traumatized, and that's gonna have a strong effect on people. But the common kind of theme in all those kind of experiences is that somewhere along the way we were taught that love must feel one-sided or insecure or anxiety kind of driven, because that's what we experience. But you might be wondering like, okay, Momo, but what is this? Do we even have a name for that? And yeah, psychologists actually call it um, attachment. A specific type of attachment is called insecure attachment. And the real cost of the toxic relationship is that they take more than just the time. They take the energy, because these people are energy vampires. They come to you, they suck out of you your energy, and you will be drained, and that day you won't be able to do anything else. So they are doing some stuff to you, and no one really talks about these things. They affect your peace, your confidence, your self worth, the way you look at different things. So if you just avoid like the toxic people in your life and a toxic relationship, you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble. You can actually enjoy your time and everything. But what happens is that most of the time, people that break up with a toxic person would either go back to that toxic person or would find the similar pattern in a new person. Like character wise, they all are not, let's say, very stable. They all are kind of toxic. But why? Because our kind of sense of pleasure and fulfillment is heavily aligned with that pursuit of getting something. You don't want something that's already yours. Makes sense. You want something that you would work for and you get. That is valuable. And these kind of toxic people, they kind of make a game, because they have, let's be honest, they have a wide variety of people that are actually around them, and they know how to handle them. So they are experts and actors in how to behave with people and how to actually tell them something that they need to hear. They would analyze you. Those dog triad that we discussed in a different video, psychopath and Machiavellist and the narcissist. So they exactly know how human psychology works. And by the way, the purpose of these videos is that you understand who you are, and by the, let's say, knowledge of you understanding the perception of yourself, you will understand the other person, because we all are thinking quite similarly and our expectations are similar. So by having this knowledge, actually you can better prepare yourself for everything. So people often waste years in a cycle of emotional highs and lows, the roller coaster of the ride, waiting for change. That never happens actually. Worst of all is that a toxic partner often makes us believe that we don't deserve a healthy love, and that's the tricky part of it that I'm going to like focus on. So how do we break the cycle, you might be asking? First step, you need to be aware that there is a cycle. The problem is not your side. The root is in a deep mental pattern created in the process. So next steps actually include that you should accept that some people do not change no matter how much we love them. Paying attention to actions, not promises, is a really vital kind of part. And setting healthy boundaries, seeking support from friends, therapy, or this kind of thing, but it doesn't really happen. Reminding ourselves the real love is consistent and respectful. But you know what happens, what I actually have witnessed myself, is that the people that actually are toxic and they do some harm to you, let me give you this example because we would go back to them and explain the things. But imagine you're in a jungle and all of a sudden a snake comes and bites you. You naturally would run away from the snake and then try to heal yourself. You will not go back to the snake and talk to the snake, hey, you are a very bad snake. Why did you bite me? Why did you want to cause this suffering on me? You shouldn't do that because the nature of that animal is to harm other people. So we go back to the story. You might be like, okay, humans are not like that. But trust me, some humans, they like just want to destroy. So if you be in a toxic relationship and you go back to the person and you ask them like, hey, why did you do it? You really messed me up. That person doesn't really care. He's like, okay, whatever, man, or she. They don't really care about that. So actually going back to the person and doing these things is just wasting your time and effort. You should just be like, okay, so that happened, so be it. That was fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice, you know. That's the phrase that says. It's a very interesting one. So you should understand that if you do one mistake once or twice, it's okay. But the third time, no, man, you should change the things. And I know it's really difficult to like change the people. Maybe you feel attached to them and everything, but you need to just think about it. That person, although you might feel like some strong emotions, whether it's your partner or like a spouse or something, but you should understand deep down that that person is taking advantage of you and you're going to be ruined in this kind of relationship or friendship. When you stop taking care of them or offering something, what happens? You say, okay, we go out, I have to pay for the meal. But why is it like that? Would that person pay for your meal? No. So why do you have to do it? Like, why is it your responsibility to do it? You feel me? If they don't do that thing for you, why do you have to do it for them? Because it's not like we say mutual rights, but when it comes down to actions, it's a whole another kind of thing. They have high expectations, but they don't offer anything. What do you get? That person, you get the thing that that person wants you to get, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, these kind of parts are quite tricky. But, you know, there's some interesting perspective. So what is a toxic relationship, you might be wondering? It's like a relationship, two people being close, that feels more like insecurity, pain, emotional neglect, and discomfort, plus a little bit of intimacy and love. But all these feelings are so entangled to each other that you would actually be addicted to it. It's like you feel like when you get them, you experience something. It's like you want to be getting close to it. So how do we know that you're in a kind of unhealthy relationship? Well, it's very easy. There are some red flags on that. For example, emotional coldness or lack of intimacy, or constant neglect, or cheating, or always feeling anxious or unpredicted. So I have a video on the signals that you can actually understand if that person is kind of toxic or not. I'll link it down in the description. You can check that one out. And also, Why are our parents always to blame? You might be wondering. Because, in the early life, they had a lot of opportunities to teach us a lot of things. And they did their best, but there have been flaws, of course, because they had other things to do. And subconsciously, we have taken something, but there's also other influences. For example, early breakup or painful teenage kind of experiences, traumas, culture, and confidence levels. Also, these shape how we choose our partners in the future. So it's like no one does one thing only once. We keep doing the same thing on a repeated pattern because that's the type of creatures that we are. And we tend to actually go forward with our lives and seeking to experience the thing we had. It's like history repeats. If you think about it, the last few partners that you had, all were kind of similar in terms of characteristics. Different faces, different names, but the character wise, they were quite the same. And by the way, if you stayed until this part, most of them probably were toxic and you knew it, but you didn't do anything about it because you enjoyed the ride. So, what's the difference between love and emotional dependency, you might think? Is that healthy love brings peace, trust, and support and stability, but emotional dependency feels like addiction. It's like staying even when you're repeatedly hurt, hoping for, let's say, some new kind of things to happen, but that probably will not happen. It's like the all these kind of cartoons that we used to actually watch, and there will be the woman that was in love with the monster and wanted to tame that monster. But this is the problem. You see, the happiness is within the pursuit. Even if she tames the monster, then she has it. Then she wants some other animal to tame. It's like the journey that counts. Do you understand what I mean? Because sometimes I feel like it's not an easy thing to like fully understand. What is the only real criteria for staying in a relationship? It's a simple question. Is a person kind and respectful and reliable? If the answer is no, then that's a toxic relationship and you should be walking away. But the problem is that we know all these facts. But when it comes down to action, we tend to do completely differently. Because those toxic relationship, they're like dopamine to our brain. They're like the nicotine, they're like the alcohol. You know that it's going to give you a small, slight boost, like a fast food. Short term is fun, long term is gonna ruin a lot of things. But you just go for it. It's deep down our psychology and the pattern that we had because, as I always say, we used to be living inside the cave. And, back then, if we found a tree, we probably would have eaten most of the fruits because we didn't know the next time that we find a tree. That's why right now you subconsciously love to actually eat food and sugar. That's why right now you are actually in a toxic relationship because the person who is toxic has a lot of confidence. And the confidence doesn't come all of a sudden with no like reason. The person that used to be confident was physically dominant, was very strong, was smart, so he could provide the food and everything. So all these reasons made him confident. And when you saw that person, you would be like, okay, that guy or that girl is confident. So there is a reason that happens. It's not all of a sudden someone is confident. So fast forward today, it's the same thing. People in the position of dark triad can actually show some characteristics of having a high confidence level, and that's the fact. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, feel free to comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and you can feel free to watch one of these two videos that pop up. And yeah, until the next one.